morning, Facebook. Haven't been on in a while. This is Kevin Thomas. Just want to come on and say a few things. I was just thinking in my time of meditation this morning and preparing to go to work, and I got in the car and I just started thinking about that we all have been given the responsibility of our own lives, to care for it, to nurture it, to keep it healthy. We have been given a choice to be healthy. We've been given a choice to be kind. We've been given a choice to be helpful. And some of us, if not all of us, have all made mistakes with our own lives. And mistakes in our own lives have caused mistakes in the lives of the people that we're responsible for, our children. But that's fine. There's time to recover. Some of us have recovered, but yet we haven't got to that blissful place yet in our lives to be able to get rid of the distractions. And what I mean by distractions is that stress that we allow other people to bring in our lives. We get angry at what other people do. We get mad at what other people say, and disturbed and worried, and we forget we have that responsibility for our own lives. Now, I'm not negating the fact that we are parents to our children, but again, at some point in that journey as a parent, your children become adults. But I know in that small window that you have them, that from birth to, let's say, 24, you have to be not only responsible for them, but you have to be more responsible for yourself. Because what you do in regards to taking care of yourself is a reflection for your children on how to take care of themselves as adults. There are a lot of things and a lot of variables that go into raising children. There are a lot of variables and things that go into being responsible for yourself. But it is something that we all have to be cognitive of. We have to think about. As people who call ourselves a Christian nation, I don't particularly like to use that word Christian, but that's what it is. That's what's been marked as the identity of one who trusts and believes in God and Christ. But the reality is that we are people who are supposed to fall into the way of Christ. We really don't understand the gospel. We have such a dogma that puts people in bondage when we're talking about trying to get them out of bondage. Bondage to having to be at church when the door's open. Bondage to having to give all your money when they say give it. Bondage to build, to give, and yet we never see anything being done building. Because the reality of what Christ came to do was to build a people. A people who are responsible for themselves and can help and teach others to be responsible for themselves. We talk about the second coming of Christ, and I think about that, just really think about the second coming of Christ. Now, Christ just simply means the Messiah or the anointed one. So the second coming of Christ is that, in my opinion, and I may not be right, but to me it makes sense. The second coming of Christ, because the word says Jesus was the first of many. So the second coming of Christ would have to be that those that are here on earth would become like he was. But yet, there's so much, and I'm not harping on this, but it's the truth. The truth makes you free. The reality of what the church is doing, there are big church, mega churches, all these churches that are growing, but yet the world is more evil. But we thank God that where evil abounds, grace much more abounds. But that's God, because he's always in the center of us. He's always with us, keeping us. But yet we have slacked in our job because all of us want to be the one, the man, the woman. We want to teach people. We want to lead people. We want people to look up to us, to be the person that they come to. But the reality of what God has given us and taught us through his creative ability to create us is that we are to be responsible for ourselves. No one is supposed to lord over us. We are lords. We are kings. We are priests. But we won't stand up and be who we are because we're too busy trying to follow every Tom, Dick, Jane, and Harry that stands up and say they are a man or a woman of God, but won't give you that same title, that you are a man, woman of God. Where you are. They might know a little bit more. They might study a little bit more. That's another thing that's a whole nother subject that we don't even read. We don't even read like we should. We don't even go into the depths of the information that has been laid out for us. We just stick to one particular thing and we stay with it. You know, some people say, I get all my information from my leader, from my pastor. And I don't want to go into all of that things, but what I really want to say is that we have to understand we are responsible for ourselves. And if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't be any good for anyone else. For example, we see so many divorces. And really, that's what's sad if you look at the statistics, that there are more divorces in the church than there is in the secular world. Go figure. I guess that movie, you know, who's that guy when Bow Wow and I think it was Brandon Jackson was in that movie when he won all that $1 million, the lottery ticket. Yeah, that's the name of it. And that preacher, Mike Epps, was saying, "This is the wife I got, and this is the wife I want." It's crazy, you know, but that seems to be the process, you know. And hey, it's sad, you know. I mean, because for me, it's ironic that somebody can stand up and tell me that don't give up on your life, don't give up on your wife, don't give up on your husband. You can recover. God can do anything. But yet, pastors and ministers and leaders, evangelists are getting divorced and not living what they're saying. Can God do anything? Yeah, he can if you let him. If you let him work through you as you. But so many people want to be God to other people. But anyway, I digress. Listen, take responsibility for yourself. And when you do, you'll realize that when you get it right, and I'm not talking about right from the world standard, from the world system, from any other system, but simply yours. What do you feel? What do you believe? What do you desire? The answer is not outside of you. The answer is on the inside of you. Sit down and think, what is it that I want? I mean, and that doesn't mean, oh, I want this person. And it's not about people. What is it that you want? Because you can live with your spouse. You can live with your children. You can live with your parents. You can live with your brothers and sisters, even if they're not in your face all the time. But what I'm talking about is simply going in the recesses of your mind and thinking and imagining and seeing what makes you tick, what makes you smile, what makes you love. And when you figure those things out and see, keep those things in the forefront of your mind. Keep those things in front of you so you can love. Because see, when you learn you will love you, and it'll be so much easier for you to love other people. I'm telling you what I know. It will be so much easier for you to love other people when you know you and love you. And you won't look at yourself and be disappointed because of this and because of that. And a lot of that disappointment comes from what other people are saying all around you, what the TV is putting out there, all this stuff that you've gotten over the course of your life, from the time you were a child to where you are now, all these different messages telling you what you should be, what you ought to be, what you can't be. But I'm here to tell you, in a very authoritative voice, that you can be anything you desire. But you have to do it. You have to put the work in. It takes work. Nonetheless, I want you to be happy. I want you to be satisfied with, well, really, I don't want you to be satisfied, because the who we are as children of God, as a species of God living on earth in this earth suit, we are always ever evolving, ever growing, ever finding and learning, expanding our horizon, our minds, ourselves in this life. This is the life that Jesus said he came to give us, but the abundant life is that which we discover. But we discover, and we grow, and we expand. A lot of you know what I'm talking about, because where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even a year ago, you're not there anymore. You've grown. You've learned. You've seen more. You've done more. You thought about more. You imagined more. The key is to imagine. That's one thing we miss in the church. We don't talk about the imagination, but the Bible does. It says, casting down every evil imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So the law of opposites would say then that lifting up, opening up the imagination that is good, which is in line with the will of God. That's why your thinking, your mind has to be renewed, so you will know what that good and acceptable and perfect will of God is. But what is that good and acceptable, perfect will of God? Is that you be all that you can be. Read the word. That's what it's telling you, that you be all that you can be. He said, guard your heart, for out of it the issues of life flow. He says, guard your heart. He says it's his will that you have life and have it more abundantly, that you prosper and be in health, even as your thinking, your mind, your soul, your imagination prospers. Everything he talks about in terms of prosperity and health, it comes through and from inside of you, not outside. I don't care how much you go to church. If you went to church every day, the doors were open, you will still not learn anything about you. You will learn everything about the church and what that pastor wants you to do. And I'm not against church. I'm not against pastors. I love it. Especially when they're talking about expanding who you are, building you up, strengthening the people sitting in the pews. The strong. The Bible said, let the weak say that they're strong. So what I'm simply saying is this. Take responsibility for yourself, for that is the only law of man that means anything, because that is what God gave each and every one of us, the ability to live or the ability to die. I'll tell you how I know, because he said, I set blessings and cursing and life and death right in front of you. You have the power to choose which way you go. So you have that responsibility. Which way will you go? Will you go the way of cursing and evil and death? And that doesn't mean a physical death. You're going to die. It just means that your life is going to be a living hell. You're going to always be falling, tripping. You have a little bit of joy here, a little bit here, then all of a sudden, and you're going to be in there, oh, things always happen. Why does this all? Why do I always meet this kind of guy? Why do I always meet this kind of girl? Why can I always make it? Why does he always get it? Choose life. Take responsibility, because it's yours. Take responsibility for your life, because it's yours, no one else's. God bless you. Have a great day.